In Kenya, medicine is not always found in pharmacies or hospitals. For millions, healing begins in the soil, in leaves, roots, and seeds. Herbal medicine is everywhere. In city markets, in cereal stores, in remote villages, and in whispered family tradition passed down through generations. But behind every cup of herbal tea or packet of ground roots lies a bigger story. One of survival, of mistrust, of heritage at risk. Some Kenyans turn to herbs because hospitals are too costly. Others because modern medicine has failed them. And for many, tradition remains the only doctor they know. Margaret Mwasia, a retired teacher, mother of 2, and a grandmother of 3, first realized something was wrong in the year 2018 when she began bleeding heavily after menopause.
Nilitolewa tunyama. Walikuwa wanatoa tunyama from the cervix. Wakatoa. It was painful. Hata nikikumbuka sasa nasikia kwanza hiyo pain.
Her results came back positive for cancer.
Akaniambia, "Mom, uko na cancer. Na hii cancer, it won't give you a month to live. Lazima ukuje within 1 week, 7 days ndio ninakupea. Enda utafute 15,000 ukuja."
It was her brother who stepped in, introducing Margaret to a professor who had successfully treated his own aunt with herbal powders. With little else to hold on to, Margaret decided to try the same remedy.
Nitakutafutia daktari, my friend, ambaye alitibu aunt yake na akapona. Alikuwa almost akufe, lakini alipona na akatoka hospitali. So ndio akaniambia, kwanza usiende, koja. Nikamuuliza, hiyo dawa ni aina gani? Nikamuuliza, don't you know that mimi nimeokoka? Akaniambia, najua umeokoka, lakini dawa unapewa na profesa. Hiyo dawa alikuwa anatibu miti kwa chai, tulikuwa tunafanya pamoja kwa chai, na alikuwa anafanya research ya magonjwa ya miti. Na hiyo dawa alikuwa anatibu miti hiyo ya chai. Kwa hivyo hiyo dawa alipatia, the same dawa akapatia aunti yake, na aunti akapona. So atakupatia hiyo dawa alikuwa anapea miti. Akaniuliza, hiyo ni unganga? Nikamwambia, si unganga.
For 2 years, Margaret took the herbs faithfully. Slowly, the bleeding eased, and in time, the pain that had once consumed her life began to fade away.
Ilikuwa powder. Nikachemsha vile nilielezwa na nikakunywa. After taking it for a year, pain, bleeding ziliisha. Lakini profesa akaniambia, endelea, nitakwambia siku ile utasimamisha. I took it for 2 years, daily, in the morning and in the evening, na saa 7, before food, ilikuwa tu dawa. So nikakunywa hiyo dawa for 2 years. Nikashtukia tu nishapona. Sikujua nikipona.
Today, Margaret turns to herbal medicine, valuing both the relief it gave her and its cost effectiveness.
I think the best medicine ni herbal. Kwa sababu herbal medicine haina side effect. Lakini hii ingine ya makaratasi ni kama sijui ni nini. I think ni kama ni business. But herbal unapewa dawa nyingi, unakunya for a good duration na ni cheap. Hata kama si kumulipa, zile herbs ambazo zinatumiwa na watu zinakuanga cheap na very effective without side effect. Sijawahi kusikia mtu akisema nilikunywa herbal na niko na this other ugonjwa. Lakini nimeona mtu amekunywa dawa ameanza kuwa na ulcers kwa sababu ya kumeza dawa.
For Arthur and Caroline Wanyoike, their journey to parenthood was marked by loss and hope. After a smooth pregnancy in the year 2021, they lost their firstborn daughter Jasmine at full term.
And at 40 weeks, one day I'm at work, I get a call. I think today's the day. So I rushed, came home, took her to hospital. And then, unfortunately, when we got to hospital, we couldn't find a heartbeat. Yeah. So that was a very, very heavy burden for us to bear.
Doctors later told Caroline her fallopian tubes were blocked. IVF was the only medical option at a staggering cost of 500,000 shillings without a guarantee.
And unfortunately, we found that something was off. I had bilateral blockage on both my fallopian tubes. One blockage was towards the uterus, the other one was towards the ovary. So on my way back from the hospital, I just told God, you know what? I honestly don't have the money for IVF. And IVF is taking a chance. It's not 100% guaranteed that it will catch on the first try. So nikaambia Mungu, there are very many variants that are not working with me right now. Sina hiyo pesa. I don't have the energy to try and keep failing. I just told God to be God. Cheza kama wewe, by the way.
Then, through a family connection, they learned of a herbalist in Elgeyo Marakwet whose specialty was said to be in helping women with fertility issues.
So we got in touch with the lady. Akatuambia, nafanyanga hiyo kazi, kujeni. I need to feel your belly, nijue nitakupatia nini. So we had spoken prior before going. So we planned on the date. We had decided, the three of us, to go. So me and Arthur, we went on a safari to Elgeyo Marakwet. And we found her. She had already gone to wherever it is that she goes to source for her medicine. Akatuambia ni msitu fulani. So, and then she explained to us. She felt my belly, just kidogo, akafinya kiasi. And then she told me how to prepare the medicine. Kachemsha, ikue red, then nikunywa asubuhi on an empty stomach. Just a small amount. Akaniambia kidogo tu, kama kuota kikombe, kunywa. And that's what we did. So somewhere along a month and a half, we conceived. Here.
For them, herbal medicine was not just a remedy. It was part of a journey with lifestyle changes, faith, and resilience that turned grief into joy. Across Africa, traditional medicine is foundational. World Health Organization data shows that about 80% of Africans turn to herbalists first. In countries like Burundi, Ethiopia, Ghana, and South Africa, the numbers often exceed 70 to 90%. For many, especially in rural areas like Moroto in Uganda, up to 2/3 rely on traditional medicine invariably. Even for chronic diseases like diabetes, up to half of patients mix traditional and modern treatments, often without telling their doctors. And in places with few hospitals, the nearest healer may just be steps away, while a clinic could be hours away. Meet Sally Chepkemoi Chepkuroi, a herbalist, a wife, and a mother of 4, 3 boys and 1 girl. She was raised by her paternal grandmother, who often needed help gathering herbs from the forest. One day, when her grandmother was unwell, Sally went alone. She returned with the right plants and not poison. Impressed, her grandmother blessed her with the gift of healing.
Asubuhi kwa kakafanya nini?
akamwaga hiyo dawa, akamwagia kwa ngozi, na akakakua. Akalikakua, akakakua. Ikapiga mwisho akaniambia ukulete sumu, kwa sababu ukienda msituni kuna dawa inafanana. Ingine ni sumu na ingine ni dawa. Sasa mimi sikulete sumu, nililete dawa. Alinibariki kabisa na hii dawa.
Sally says most patients only turn to her after hospitals have failed them. From diabetes to high blood pressure, even cancer, she alleges to treat them all with herbs.
Wanaendanga hospitali sasa, alafu wanakuja nyumbani baadaye. Wanasemanga imeshindikana.
In her locality, she has experienced different illnesses that are prominent.
Unaona sasa, ugonjwa kabisa ile imeenea, ile imeua watu kabisa. Ugonjwa ya cancer, pressure, ugonjwa ya ugonjwa ya sukari, diabetes. Alafu hii growth yenye inamelewa mama wa tumbo,
fibroids. Na unatibu hizo zote?
Mimi natibu mama.
Her gift extends to women struggling to conceive. She claims she has helped at least 4 families welcome children after years of infertility.
Kuna mama kutoka Sumu nimemsaidia, alafu nikasaidia mama Nyambura, alafu nikasaidia msichana mwingine wa ng'ambo, alikaa mwaka 7. Alafu kuna mama mwingine Nairobi anaitwa Agnes, lakini Agnes alikuwa na watoto yake, ikapiga mali ikakwama. Sasa nikamsaidia na akona mtoto yake kijana saizi.
Charles Kibet Masobo, a boda rider and a farmer from Suwerwa, Trans Nzoia, recounts a mysterious and painful medical ordeal that began in the year 2018.
Wakati mnapenduka kuamuka, nikasikia ni kama kuna kitu imenigonga mguu na hakuna. Kunasikia ile uchungu fulani, haitaki niweke mguu chini. Nikirudisha mguu juu, sisikii uchungu. Nikachukulia na ndugu yangu, tukaenda hospitali Suwerwa, nikiwa nabeba kwa pikipiki. Kufika Suwerwa, daktari akaangalia, akasema haina shida yoyote, hakuna mahali imevunjika. So yeye akakuwa na uoga, akasema itabidi uende Kitale, upige x-ray, uone kama kunaweza kuwa na shida kwa mguu ndani.
As the wound deepened, Charles was forced to stay home. With each passing day, he not only battled pain, but also the loss of his work and the dignity that came with providing for himself and for his family.
So nikakuja nyumbani, nikalala. Sasa hapo sifanyi tena boda, nikabaki nakaa nyumbani. So kuamkia asubuhi kesho yake, hiyo uvimbe imekwisha yote. Lakini imenyonya hiyo kufura yote na imeweka kitu maji namna hii. Ni kama nilichomwa na moto, kitu kama hiyo. Lakini tukafungua hiyo bandage polepole, tukatoa. Tukashindwa sasa hii inaweza kuwa shida ni nini? Tukarudi Kitale. Daktari akaangalia akasema wacha usiguze, wacha tuone vile itakuwa. Tukarudi nyumbani. Kukaa usiku hiyo ikapasuka yenyewe tu. Mimi kuamka asubuhi mguu imepasuka. So tukatoa hiyo karatasi hii kitu ka ngozi ya juu. Kufungua hivi tukapata pale ndani kuna shimo 3. Shimo 3 na kila shimo inatoa maji.
After countless doctors' visit, endless rounds of medication and watching her son's wound grow only worse, Charles' mother, Mama Coletta, was devastated. Then came the crushing advice to take him to Eldoret Hospital for a cancer test.
Ijapokuwa alisema ya kwamba kama ingelikuwa labda hii ugonjwa ya kansa na kama wangelijaribu kidogo sample iende, ingelileta hatari, labda ingelikimbia zaidi. Sasa ni Mungu tu kukosa pesa, na bure ningekimbiza huyu kijana Eldoret. Kumbe Mungu alisema hapana, wacha ukose kila kitu, mimi mwenyewe nitapenya njia nyingine.
When conventional medicine costs were too high, she turned to her church and her community for support. Among them was a woman who quietly pulled her aside and told her about a local herbalist named Mama Selena, who lived in the hills and had helped others with severe wounds before. The very next morning, they squeezed themselves onto a motorbike and made the bumpy journey up the hill to Mama Selena's home. What they found was a kind-hearted, soft-spoken woman with a deep knowledge of traditional healing. After examining Charles's wound, she assured them that she could help if the wound had not been cut with metal or surgical tools. She agreed to begin treatment immediately, free of charge.
Kwanza nikauliza mama, sasa hii kazi utaanza, labda utahitaji kitu kama pesa. Kweli mama, mimi niko chini kabisa. Akasema hapana, usijali upande ya pesa, wewe fanye hivi. Mimi naanza kazi yangu, ni mtibu, baadaye si wewe ndio ulisikia uchungu. Si wewe mwenyewe utajua utanifanya nini. Kweli ni hivyo, ndio huyu mama alianza matibabu ya kijana. Basi tukakubaliana, kijana akabaki kule juu. Akaendelea na matibabu ya kijana. Kijana alikuwa analala tu pale kwa jikoni. Ni mama alikuwa anatumikia kijana kama mama. Akimwashia moto, akimuoshea. Yana alikuwa jiwezi kabisa. Ilikuwa ni maajabu. Sasa huyu mama alipoendelea na haya matibabu, akatafutiange yeye dawa. Anaenda kwanza hii ya kufinya ya matawi. Anagonga gonga, anatuonesha vile anafanya. So mmeona vile ninafanya. Akafinya, akakuja na anafunikia, anafunga. Tukae tu, tunakaa karibu saa moja hivi. Anakuja tena anaifungua. Mmeonaje? Tunaona mabadiliko. Si ilikuwa ni tundu. Tunaona sasa nitaka kuanza kujifinya. Sasa baada ya hapo utaona yenyewe inaanza kuteremsha. Toka maji, inaanza usani. Hivyo tu anatutia matumaini.
For every patient who found their way to Selena, one thing was striking. None were ever turned away for lack of money. Payments when they came were symbolic, not demanded. Mama Coletta offered a calf after her son Charles regained his health.
Tutafutie huyu mama kitu yenyewe naye atakuwa anaiona. Ndio sasa tukakaa chini kama familia, tukatoa kitu kidogo, tukachanga ndama.
In stark contrast to the heavy cost of modern care, traditional medicine offered them dignity and healing without the crushing weight of a financial burden.
Alikataa pesa. Aliniambia, you are a sister of my friend. Na nilifanya kazi na your brother for miaka mingi kwa Brookboard. So, sitaki pesa.
Like Margaret and Mama Coletta, for Arthur and Caroline, the price of modern fertility treatment was staggering. In Kenya, a single cycle of IVF can cost up to 500,000 Kenya shillings before medication and follow-up tests. But when they went to Selena, the cost was a completely different story. The journey was marked by bus fare, a boda ride, and some small shopping they carried with them on top of their token of appreciation.
500,000 was just a mammoth ask.
Centuries of colonial suppression loom over the practice of traditional medicine. The Witchcraft Act of 1925 criminalized any form of indigenous healing, branding practitioners as witch doctors. This drove the knowledge underground, instilling fear and mistrust among communities. Dr. James Courier, a scientist at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, and the Center for Traditional Medicine and Drug Research lead, sheds light on this matter.
With this outlawing of cultural expression, traditional medicine was lumped in there. It's part of witchcraft. So it inevitably had to go into hiding. And then, of course, there has come a new faith system, which is Christianity, and Western medicine also came in, education came in, and this whole thing that attended that change. So that went on until after the colonialists left. But the thing is, because of the messaging that came from the Witchcraft Act, anything that seemed to go away from what was brought in was looked at with disdain. So even a mere mention that you use these things was looked at as anti-faith, anti-civilization, anti-development.
Selena's gift comes from tradition passed down through generations. But who preserves these traditions when elders pass on? That's where Kenya Center for Traditional Medicine and Drug Research, CTMDR, steps in, researching, testing, and building bridges between ancient knowledge and trusted modern healthcare.
Because when the center was being started, it was also due to the recognition that we need to salvage this information as quickly as possible, because the holders of the information are actually dying. We are in a season of attrition. These people are old. They are getting out of the scene.
They've documented promising leads from plants that fight malaria to herbs that ease diabetes, heal wounds, and even show potential against viral infections like herpes. The science is clear. These remedies are part of Kenya's health story, standing at the crossroads between culture, survival, and modern medicine.
From traditional medicine, like I've mentioned, we have had some leads, especially for malaria. We have some leads for other bacterial infections, things like infected wounds, things like GI or gastrointestinal infections and other tummy issues. We have issues for eyes, for example. You have problems with pink eye. We had a problem like this a few years ago. And then we have issues to do with diabetes. We have come across plants that would actually be able to lower blood sugar. We initially were not testing them for viruses, but in the course of testing, you find something that is very active in an area that was not mentioned at all traditionally. Then you find it can work. We found something for herpes simplex virus, for example, in that way.
But for all its promise, herbal medicine also carries hidden dangers. Researchers say the biggest challenge isn't the plants themselves, it's what happens after harvest. It's a reminder that while traditional medicine is trusted, its safety must be safeguarded too.
But the main problem is contamination, mainly by aflatoxin-causing fungi. This is a post-harvesting issue. A lot of these plants will be harvested, then they need to be dried. A lot of them are given out in that form.
In China, as far back as the 1960s, government policy declared one medicine, blending Western science with centuries of traditional knowledge. Doctors there are trained in both systems, and patients have access to care that is holistic, affordable, and trusted.
Acknowledge the differences that are there between these systems of medicine. Take away the bias and the stigma, especially in the practitioners of either against the other. Then build it into the training system, the education for practitioners.
For Margaret, Charles, Arthur, and Caroline, herbal medicine was not just plants. It was hope, healing, and in some cases, new life. For scientists, the challenge is to preserve that hope while ensuring safety and evidence. As caregivers and policymakers awaken to its potential, the roots of the past might carry the promise of tomorrow. For Willow Health Stories, I am Sarah Kamande.